As far as we can tell, the real purpose of human existence is to bring a light of meaning into the darkness of simply being. Carl Jung. When we hear about great minds and influential figures like Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Leonardo da Vinci, Albert Einstein, William Shakespeare, or Nelson Mandela, we often start comparing ourselves to them. Their lives seem so meaningful and extraordinary that we can't help but wonder, how could ours ever measure up? But according to Carl Jung, the purpose of life isn't about achievements or success. It's about who you truly are and how you live. Jung believed that our entire being can be understood through what he called the psyche, which includes both our conscious and unconscious selves. At the center of our consciousness, everything we're aware of, lies our ego. But there's so much more beyond the ego that we often ignore. Hidden deep within our unconscious mind is what Jung called our shadow, or our dark side. He suggested that this hidden part of us holds the key to discovering our true purpose. That's because your life's purpose isn't something universal or external. It's something deeply personal and unique to you. Carl Jung was a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who founded his own school of thought known as analytical psychology. His teachings are often referred to as Jungian philosophy. He wrote several influential books, including The Psychology of the Unconscious, Man and His Symbols, The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, Modern Man in Search of the Soul, and Memories, Dreams, Reflections. In this video, we'll explore how, according to Carl Jung, you can uncover your life's true purpose by understanding and embracing your dark side. So, let me ask you this. Have you ever wondered what hidden parts of yourself might be guiding your true purpose in life? Get to know your darkness. Carl Jung once said, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Everyone has a unique meaning and purpose in life, shaped by who they are and what they truly want. But before you can discover your life's purpose, you first need to understand yourself. Many people believe they already do. They think they know their strengths, weaknesses, and desires. Yet true self-knowledge goes much deeper. According to Jung, self-understanding comes from a process he called self-realization. Each of us is made up of both conscious and unconscious parts, the things we are aware of and the things we're not. Hidden deep within our unconscious mind is what Jung called our shadow, or our dark side. This shadow contains repressed emotions, desires, and traits like anger, envy, laziness, or even interests we've pushed away because we're ashamed of them. The tricky part is that we're often unaware of what's in our shadow. Over time, we learn to ignore or suppress these parts of ourselves, choosing instead to identify with our persona, the mask we wear to be liked or accepted by others. We might have one mask for work, another for friends, and yet another for family. To truly know yourself, you have to look beyond those masks. This is where shadow work comes in, the process of exploring and understanding your dark side. It's about reflecting on your daily thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. You can do this through journaling or meditation. Ask yourself questions like, why did I act that way? Did it feel authentic? What was my first instinct in that moment? How would I feel if the roles were reversed? It's like becoming your own interviewer, curious, honest, and open-minded. Jung emphasized that getting to know your shadow doesn't mean becoming your shadow. Acknowledging traits like anger doesn't mean you're an angry person. It simply means accepting that this emotion exists within you. It's part of being human. Often, the traits we dislike most in others are the ones we've hidden within ourselves. This is called projection. For example, someone who harshly judges selfish people might actually be repressing their own selfish tendencies. Recognizing this pattern can be uncomfortable, but it's also deeply freeing. By regularly reflecting, journaling, and asking yourself these honest questions, you start bringing the unconscious into the light. You begin to understand your full self, both the good and the bad, and this awareness moves you closer to a truly meaningful life. So here's something to think about. What part of yourself do you think you've been hiding, and what might it be trying to teach you? Work on yourself. Carl Jung once said, "I don't aspire to be a good man. I aspire to be a whole man." Now that you've discovered your unconscious side, including those darker, less comfortable traits, you might be wondering, how can this possibly help me? In fact, facing your shadow can make you feel worse at first. Once you see those hidden parts of yourself, you can't simply ignore them anymore. Jung understood that truly finding out who you are can be a painful and even frightening process. Many people believe that the best way to handle their bad traits is to repress them, to never let them show. And while that might seem true on the surface, it's not the full story. Ignoring or suppressing parts of yourself doesn't make them disappear. In fact, repressing your shadow traits can give them even more power. They sit quietly inside you, building pressure, until one day, when you're tired, stressed, or emotionally drained, they explode. People who deny their anger often end up having sudden, uncontrollable outbursts. Those who ignore their need for rest might eventually burn out completely. Suppression doesn't lead to peace. It leads to imbalance. So instead of fighting your shadow, work with it. Whatever you find within, anger, envy, impatience, laziness, try to understand it and make it useful. For example, anger isn't always bad. When someone genuinely mistreats you, anger can help you stand up for yourself and set boundaries. The key is knowing when to express an emotion and when to let it go. Ask yourself, when is it right to act on how I feel, and when is it better to pause? When should I lean into my social mask, and when can I drop it? Thinking about your emotions in this balanced, nuanced way, rather than labeling them as good or bad, can transform your life. Even envy can be turned into motivation. Laziness might be your body's way of telling you to slow down and rest. Impatience can push you to take action when it matters. The goal isn't to erase your dark traits, but to integrate them, to make them part of your whole self. Your shadow isn't here to punish you, it's here to teach you. The traits you've buried aren't your enemies, they're guides, helping you grow into your most authentic self. Only when you accept and embrace all sides of who you are can you truly evolve. This is what Jung meant by becoming whole. When you integrate your shadow, you don't become perfect. You become real, balanced, harmonious, and true to yourself. And once you understand who you truly are, it becomes much easier to know what you really want from life. Self-improvement, Jung believed, is never finished. There's always more to learn, more to refine, more to understand. But that continuous process of working on yourself, that's where life gains its deepest meaning. So ask yourself this: what part of your dark side could actually become your greatest strength if you learn to accept it? Take action. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do."
That means you shouldn't live reactively, simply responding to whatever life throws at you. Instead, live proactively. Don't wait for opportunities to show up. Create them. Don't wait for people to approach you. Take the first step. Want more friends? Go out and make connections. Waiting for that promotion? Build a plan and pursue it. Don't sit around waiting for life to become meaningful. Give it meaning through your actions. Most of us, without realizing it, live reactively. Even people who spend time doing shadow work and self-improvement sometimes fall into this trap. They think, I've learned about myself, I've done the inner work, now I can relax. But that's exactly when we get stuck. Reflection without action leads nowhere. So, how do you start living actively? The answer's simple: by challenging yourself. Once you've explored your shadow and started to grow from it, keep asking yourself meaningful questions. What do I truly believe in? What values guide my life?
What kind of person do I want to be this year and 5 years from now? How can I contribute to the world around me? Write these questions down, journal about them, meditate on them. The answers will show you what actions to take next. For example, let's say you dream of becoming a published author. Many people share that dream, but few actually follow through. They wait for inspiration, for free time, or for the perfect moment to write, and that moment rarely comes. Someone who truly takes action, though, writes regularly, even when they don't feel inspired. They stick to a schedule, seek out advice when they get stuck, and keep going until they finish. They use discipline, not just motivation, to move forward. Then they take the next step, reaching out to publishers, agents, or fellow writers. Of course, not everyone finds meaning in career goals. Some people want to make a difference in a more personal or spiritual way, maybe by guiding younger generations, supporting others, or simply living by example. You might do that by becoming a parent, a teacher, a mentor, or even starting a community project. What matters most is that you choose how you'll bring your values to life through your actions. Because here's the truth, you can survive living reactively, but you'll never find meaning that way. Meaning comes from movement, from choice, from taking bold, intentional steps toward the life you want. So, let me ask you this. What's one small action you can take today that moves you closer to the person you want to become? Embrace fear. Carl Jung once said, "Where your fear is, there is your task." One of the biggest reasons people live reactively isn't laziness, and it's not always a lack of motivation either. Most of the time, it's fear. Taking action means taking risks, and risks can be terrifying. Think about it. When you have an idea for a book, you have to risk disappointing yourself with what you write. Once the book is finished, you risk facing rejection when you try to get it published. Every meaningful action carries the chance of failure, judgment, or disappointment. That's why courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward despite it. Jung believed that fear shouldn't be ignored or pushed into the shadow. When we bury fear, it doesn't disappear. It grows stronger and begins to quietly control us. Instead, we must face it and ask honest questions. What exactly am I afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? And how would I handle it if it did? Often fear becomes smaller when we shine a light on it. Preparation can help too, but be careful not to confuse preparation with overthinking. True preparation focuses on realistic possibilities, not wild what-if thoughts. For instance, if you want to publish a book, prepare yourself for rejection. It's part of the process. But also prepare for success. Imagine finding an agent or seeing your book in print. What you shouldn't do is spiral into unlikely fears, like people stealing your idea or everyone laughing at you. Those thoughts only feed anxiety and keep you stuck. When you face your fears directly and prepare for what's likely, you've already conquered a big part of them. The truth is, fear never completely disappears, but bravery doesn't require its absence. It requires you to act in spite of it. Every person who has ever done something remarkable has felt fear. The difference is that they didn't let it stop them. They looked fear in the eye and moved toward it. As Carl Jung said, where your fear is, there is your task. Your fear is not a barrier, it's a signpost. It's pointing you toward what matters most. Because often the thing that scares you most is exactly the thing that has the power to bring the deepest meaning to your life. So, here's something to think about. What fear might be hiding the next big step you need to take in your life? Accept the bad. Carl Jung once said, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. Now, you know yourself. You're working on improving, taking action, and facing your fears. So does that mean you'll now live the perfect life? Of course not. No one's life is perfect, not even the most influential people in the world. In fact, they're often the ones who face the greatest hardships. Why? Because they take the biggest risks. They fall, they fail, but they keep going anyway. Accepting the bad, the failures, the disappointments, and the pain is essential to finding meaning and purpose. Life without struggle would be flat and empty. Joy only feels truly powerful when you've also known sadness. You can't appreciate the light if you've never faced the dark. So when something bad happens, try to see it differently. Don't despair, reframe it. Remind yourself that future happiness will feel even sweeter because of this. Every challenge, every mistake adds depth to your story and teaches you something new about yourself. Your reactions to life's difficulties reveal who you really are. Failure shows you your limits and your strengths. No one realizes they need to be more practical until they've made a mistake. And no one discovers their true resilience until life gives them no choice but to be strong. Imagine this: you pour your heart into a novel, only to be rejected by every publisher. Or you leave a stable job to pursue a dream, only to stumble along the way. Does that make your life less meaningful? Not at all. Jung believed that meaning doesn't come from achieving goals. It comes from the journey itself, from the courage to act, to grow, and to keep going. Your life isn't meaningful because you became a published author or a successful politician. It's meaningful because you tried, because you dared to take action, because you were brave enough to be yourself. Meaning isn't a destination, it's a process that never ends. You'll keep growing, learning, failing, and succeeding. You'll keep discovering who you are through every new experience, the good and the bad. That mix of joy and disappointment, effort and resilience is what makes your life uniquely yours. So celebrate every attempt. Be proud of what you've tried, even when things didn't go as planned. Be grateful for what did work out, no matter how small. And remember, your life already has meaning, as long as you're living it as your truest self. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our Philosophies for Life playlist for more insights like this. And if you'd like more timeless wisdom to help you grow and find happiness, don't forget to subscribe. And before you go, here's a question for you. What's one small action you can take today that moves you closer to the person you want to become?